Hey, Martin.
Hey, it's great to be back again, and we're talking about social selling and why we love it, aren't we?
Yeah, and actually, why our viewers should love it too.
That's right. That's right. So, Greg, kick off with we get a real good discussion on this.
Yeah, so let's. I think you and I are going to kind of go back and forth a little bit here on this. With some reasons on why we like social selling and why everyone else should too. So let me start off. Let me first say, one of the reasons why I really enjoy social selling is because it requires salespeople to be authentic and transparent.
Hmm.
And basically what that says is that when we live in a very digital economy, things are moving along very nicely as far as more and more people are using social networks to identify prospects and vice versa. So it's critically important for a true and authentic salesperson to maintain a very good positive brand, and not only for themselves but also for the company that they represent. And if they don't, there's a very good chance that that person is not going to make their quota or even come close to making their quota.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just throw something out. Social selling to me is far from a passive activity. It's actually a more up close and personal, engaged activity than ever before in many ways. So that's to me one of the things it represents.
Mhm. Oh, I totally agree. Absolutely. So, do you have something in addition that you like about social selling?
Yeah, yeah. One of the things is we're assuming that the customer is educating themselves, is informed, and is of course going to be a little bit skeptical of traditional branding and logos and things like that. So it sort of reminds me social selling of when I go into a small town in North Carolina and I'm clearly not from the area. I have the chance to win over trust when I walk into their store every single time so they can see what I'm there for, that I'm here to educate, not just pitch them on something. And I think that's a wonderful experience to be in. Not assuming they're going to trust you, assuming you get to earn their trust every way. And how do you create the content to do that? And you also need to know what really unique offering you have against the competition, as we always needed to know.
hmm No, I agree. I mean, it goes right back to being authentic and transparent. Even whether you're selling large multi-million-dollar deals or speaking to small business owners in rural North Carolina. So, totally agree with that. Absolutely. That's why I love social selling.
Another thing about it to me is the excitement of tools that we're starting to see spring up and more people using, and we'll go into another show, social CRMs, but that to me is the idea of not just tracking basic dialogue with the customer, but what are they doing on the web and what content are they creating, so you're up to date with it as well, because you have an in-person relationship and online, and you want to know in social sellings what is the boundary. You might watch their Facebook, but you may not be talking about it unless you feel you have rapport enough to do it. Would you comment on that?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, you don't need to be connected to it, to every single social network that your prospect is on, or even your customers for that matters. I guess that kind of just shows your degree of relationship that you have with them. But there are, I mean, there's a lot of things that are out there, and you do need tools to help you manage them. We only have so much capacity in our day and in our own brain for actually handling stuff like this. So, looking at tools like social CRM. Whether it's using some of the social features inside Salesforce.com or getting down to specifics like Nimble, which is hopefully a guest we can have on in the near future. But we need to use these tools in order to help us kind of know when is the right time to engage with a prospect or re-engage a customer too. So. For those of you who aren't really too familiar with social CRM, think of it as a contact manager on steroids. Basically, it's probably the best way. It's like a contact manager that brings in your information from the social networks.
Yeah, to look further back in time, because I'm a little older than you, it's like a Rolodex that is feeding itself based on going out to the world to look out what's going on with that person. So you flip to the card of the Rolodex, and it's updated with more information on the person because things have changed, and sometimes you'll update the interaction. So understanding we now have a world in the social selling world where they may touch us or interact on multiple social platforms, and we need to be in tune with that, and that this is a tool in the social selling process, I think is very important.
I agree, absolutely. So let's go to move on. I think there's another thing that I like about social selling is that we can use content in a different way where we can actually help the buyer kind of navigate through the buying experience. And so kind of think of it this as, let's say that that a prospect came in, or a lead came in from an online form or a landing page you have up for your business. You know exactly what they downloaded because your CRM is telling you, or your marketing automation system is telling you what they had downloaded. You now know as a salesperson, because you have access to this kind of data, that you know what piece of content to send them next because you know what they're interested in. So I would think about content and how you can kind of repurpose content to help kind of nudge somebody along the right path, because they spend the majority of their time self-educating themselves. Now it's time to really kind of get them to make the connections by using content in that engagement process.
Yeah, and I want to say something on that. That's where, first of all, in the big picture, you need to know, profile your customer and understand their persona or avatar better than ever before, and be building it, and then knowing what are the issues they need to know before they even realize they need your product, at the point where they realize they need a product like yours. Each part of the sales cycle system, they're going to need different levels of education, and you're thinking about that when you're generating education. Your informational content isn't just blanketed, I'm going to write 10 ways to buy the best ice skates. I'm going to think of what are the things they need and who are they. And I want to share the real simple analogy from Pat Howlett. Is when he was a father on a tight budget, he was buying a very different bicycle for his daughter than when he's a grandfather going out and buying a bicycle for his granddaughter with every bells and whistles. So all the kids want to know who got you that, and the kid would say, my granddaddy. So there's going to be a very different, those are two different people purchasing and understanding this.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. All right, well, let's go and take a look at another reason. Do you have another reason why you like social selling?
Well, I like it because I think transparency inspires us to just be better people. I think we all have we all have somewhere we can drift to where we aren't our best. And I think that social selling, with the idea that more are watching you, both on and off the web, instead of being paranoid of having it, using it as a tool of just being a better citizen in person. And I kind of like that personally. I try to surround myself personally with people who inspire me to be a better person, and I like that. I think that's part of it. It's not how do we spin this, how do we be the best company we can? How do I be the best salesman in this field? And if I'm not, how do I get into something I believe so I can? So I'm living on the ground and on the web personally, and then there's also the image of the business on the ground and on the web as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. It does hold us to a certain degree of accountability, which is good because we all know that whatever goes online stays online. There's a good movie coming out called Sex Tape that you should probably not take.
Yeah, right.
Right.
It's in the cloud. I don't know.
Right, it's likely. Yeah. You're not going to get it out of there just by pulling a cable.
I might have seen everything I need to see in the previews, but it's a good, certainly it was a funny piece. But it's in the cloud. It's on the web. There.
It's definitely a good chuckle at the ignorance of some people out there. So.
Yeah. So another thing I want to bring up with this is, again, it gets back to, are you pre-screenable personally? Is there secondary validation for your business? Reviews online, personal reviews, all of those things to me go into the mix of social selling. And why, of course, you and I go. I was just, in fact, last night we were teaching the social media management class the importance of having a full LinkedIn profile with real content on it, all the way back in time, and even in education. Why? Because now we have more content to be pre-screenable on. So I think that's another piece to social selling, is put up that digital mirror to yourself and go, how do I look online? If I have less content or less pictures, I'll be trusted less. To not just the business but ourselves. And I think that's another part I like about social selling, forcing us to do that. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. There's again, it's about professional branding, or your own personal brand, and how you represent yourself, and also how you represent the company. So I think that does hold us to a certain degree of accountability with that as well. So it seems like there's a lot of accountability here, going on. So
it is. Maybe it's just you and I bringing it up.
It could be, but I think
you want to confess to something, Greg.
Well,
did you eat too much at lunch and you're on your diet or something, right?
I think that what it comes down to is that there's a lot of folks out there that just plainly don't trust salespeople.
Yeah.
And it's very justified. And I think that social selling actually helps a little bit more with showing us a way of we can be transparent and valuable. We can be, we can put ourselves out there and not be afraid to. So I think there's a lot of things that social actually, social selling in general helps towards building the accountability and the profession itself. So maybe we'll see it develop more over the years.
And I want to take a minute of, Greg, your impression of contrasting traditional sales to social selling, because in developing our course, the lines can overlap, but I'd love to let's take a snapshot and look at how we define those things today.
Yeah, well, I think traditional selling could be anything from making a whole ton of cold calls. You have a list, you have a list of clients that you need to call or prospects that you need to call, and all you're doing is you're trying to sell as many of them as possible. But with social selling, let's to contrast that out just a little bit, you're actually out there identifying specific prospects, and you're trying to reach them specifically, and not wasting somebody else's day or interrupting them, like you frequently say. We don't need to be out there doing interruptive marketing all the time, or interruptive selling all the time. We need to be finding the exact right person to speak to, and that's what social selling allows us to do.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Is in traditional, especially when we had less information, more limited channels of distribution, we were really just whacking away at numbers in a big way, and now it's like, let's really start researching, who do we give the highest return on investment on? How do we profile this person? How do we create the persona? How do we start building pathways to them? And then what is the content they need, and engaging with them, and what's of value to them beyond the sale, which is, to me, the old salesman knew that Bob Jones liked golf, or Susie liked frisbee golf, but it's also taking that to the web and interacting with it. So I think it's almost like I view one as a reverse funnel in some ways of contrasting the two.
Yeah, or looking at it from the hourglass standpoint, where you have, you do have your ultimate pool, the total customers you're going to be selling to, and then gradually they start to move down through, and then hopefully out the bottom where they move into other departments within the company, or into newer experiences with your smaller company, and you focus on customer success, and then customer support, and then legacy support, and then how do you put them back into the cycle for them to start to buy again? So I think social selling kind of answers a number of different phases throughout the selling process.
Excellent, excellent. Well, in wrapping this up, I would love to really hear in the comments and from others what their views is on social selling. How would they contrast them together? Why do they love it? How does it, the similarities and difference from the past to selling? Any closing comments you got, Greg?
Now, I just say, be out there and, look for, social selling is not a bad thing. Like we said, we have a number of reasons why we like it. I'm sure we'll probably come up with another show on why we don't like it.
Yeah.
But, there's a lot to be said about building a social selling routine to kind of complement your existing sales process. And it only takes a little bit of effort each day in order to really implement a good social selling program.
Yep, and learn the tools and work with them. Excellent. Well, look forward to your comments, folks, and this completes a Linking into Sales episode.
Thanks for watching, everyone, and this is Greg Hyer
and Martin Brossman,
and you've been watching Linking into Sales using social media to support the sales cycle.